Good day, everybody, and welcome to our next interview. Today, I've got a really exciting guest. I've got Kathryn Marnewick with me. Kathryn is a very well-known makeup artist and works on hair as well. She has worked with me for many years, and I've really enjoyed working with her. She's always a great inspiration and a great person to work with. So we're going to be asking her a little bit about becoming a makeup artist, how she's built her business, how she works, and just get into the life of what it is like to be a makeup artist. So Kathryn, just to get started, how did you get started in this business and what got you into becoming a makeup artist?
Hi, Malcolm. Thanks for having me. I started off not really like most people knowing what I wanted to do. Wasn't really good at anything, but was quite artistic, and spoke to my art teacher, and he recommended me going to a makeup school. I actually phoned somebody that was in a class of his, and she told me where she studied, which was face-to-face in Parktown in Joburg, and there really weren't many makeup schools around. So obviously I got in the car and we drove to this makeup school, and I was absolutely inspired because it had this world, this unknown world that I'd never seen before. I'm from Benoni, and of course it's quite a small town, so to see all these strange, crazy things in there, I studied makeup and prosthetics. Now prosthetics is like Star Wars, all those extra things that you put on you that it was quite entertaining, and I said, this is where I want to study. And I did that for a year, and possibly only two of us actually from that class went into the makeup industry. It's not the easiest industry to get into. You don't start a job immediately, straight after. You have to really hustle and work to try and find something.
Yeah, I can imagine. I must say it must be really exciting doing the prosthetics as well. That I must remember for the next time we've got a fun shoot to do one of those. And we can do some fun stuff there with that. So are you doing both hair and makeup? Or are you mainly in any particular?
Absolutely. I didn't study hair, but I practiced a lot on hair. One of my first jobs was working for the SABC. I worked there for 10 years in the news department. And obviously that was makeup and hair on many different races and faces and people. And it definitely developed my skill to do many different hair types and hairstyles.
And just talking about that, I mean, it's quite interesting because I've obviously worked a lot with models of all races and skin colors and things and different hairstyles and that. How different is it actually working on a dark-skinned person to a very light-skinned person? It's quite a difference, I would imagine.
Hugely different. Hugely different. And you actually have to be comfortable, obviously, doing both. Every skin color possible. I mean, even like an Indian skin is totally different to any other skin. So you really have to know your skin type, what works on that skin, what works on that hair. It's all extremely different. From styling dreads to styling braids to working with straight, sleek, thin hair to trying to build it up into something. It's actually quite difficult. Now, you must remember as well, being a hairdresser and being a hairstylist is two totally different things. I mean, being a hairstylist on set, you actually have to obviously follow a client's brief, and it can get quite technical, especially if you're doing something like high fashion. You've really got to know your stuff when it comes to all your different clients. There's such a broad spectrum on where you work. You really have to know your skill. I love an ethnic girl. I think the darker the skin, the easier it is for me but that's just my speciality. It's just for me easier. I think I've worked with it a little bit more, and I'm really comfortable with doing that. But I don't think it's just the person's skin. I think it also has to do with your medium that you're working with. So whether it's film or photography, or if you're doing a corporate shoot, like if you're working for television, obviously they need to have an extremely matte skin, whereas you're working on something that's for advertising and they want it to look really natural and fresh. So I think from that perspective is where it actually changes. It has nothing to do with what the person looks like. I mean, at the end of the day, they're just the picture.
Canvas, yeah, that's what you've got to start with. And it's actually interesting. I know when we're working on a lot of shoots, and we've done this before, I mean, you often got First of all, it starts with the briefing, and the client chooses a particular person, and they've either got very short hair, and the next thing they want somebody who's got long hair, or it's just you get all these strange requests that people give, and it's we've worked through so many of those. And one of the things that's always really difficult that I'm sure you have to deal with is when you're doing 6 makeup changes. How do you manage that throughout the day? And is there any advice you can give to us photographers and directors out there to manage our days properly so that it makes it easier for you guys to work?
Obviously, the lighter and the more fresh the look is, obviously you start with first. I mean, to go with something totally, you want a slick back hairstyle and then you want something big and bouncy afterwards. Obviously, that transition is obviously very difficult. So I think time management, obviously everybody waits for the makeup artist. I think the makeup artist, in terms of a shoot, is the longest process compared to, some of your photographs. You can take photographs so quickly and the makeup takes hours.
Absolutely. And you need that time. You need to be afforded that time on set to do that. And so it's very important to...
In 5 minutes, be able to change it.
And it's on set. Planning that day is so important, because if you've got 3 or 4 models, you'll bring in normally sometimes some people to help you with jobs, and so you might just do hair and you direct the hair and maybe do the makeup, and so you find working in a team helps a lot.
It depends on what the client is asking for. It depends on the amount of work you have to do and the volume of work you have to do. Being a makeup assistant, believe it or not, is an actual career. Internationally, your whole career can be a makeup assistant. So it definitely helps to have, obviously, the more hands you have on deck, obviously, the easier it is for everybody.
Because directing is so important. I mean, I know when we're shooting, we're having to direct a lot, and we were often asking, somebody will be happy with a particular look on a face, and then suddenly let's change it quickly, and you're left with a...
Really, I mean, you have so many, when it comes to a set, you have so many opinions that the client might love it and the advertising company might hate it. So you really are trying to please everybody. And I mean, the kind of requests that I've had is also absolutely ridiculous. When people are trying to explain what they want, and you're just sitting there with this absolute blank because you don't really know what they want. It's really difficult. You have to be not just good with what you do, but good with dealing with clients and dealing with directors and dealing with producers. And I think that's where makeup artists totally get lost. They think this is a totally creative industry, and it isn't. It isn't creative at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, how have you dealt with, where do you put yourself when you're on set, and if you're thinking of a young makeup artist coming on set and she suddenly thinks, oh wow, this is great, what advice would you give them to actually work properly on set and to work well with photographers, directors, agency guys? Because there's so many people bombarding you with questions, and who do you relate to first? Who's the first point of call for you to help you in a situation? How do you deal with all those things?
I think meeting the producer first, obviously knowing your director, knowing your DOP, your director of photography, and knowing your art department, knowing your stylist, knowing the closest people behind you, your second AD. So definitely get to know those people, introduce yourself, make sure they know who you are. Don't just be makeup person. Let them know your name. I think, I've had so many assistants around me, and I will use some again and some I will never use again. So you really need to get on set, be an assistant, always learn. Malcolm, I still assist. I can always learn. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I promise you, if an assistant job comes up that I'm interested in, I will grab it by the horns.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. I mean, it's such good advice, because so many people think they know it all. And, the great thing about when I was working at the Pixel Foundry was working with different photographers, different makeup artists, and we were all independent, but we got together and we shared information, and it makes such a big difference. So
It's also because everybody's journey has been so different. Like I said, I've been doing this for 20 years, but my story and how I got into the industry is so different from somebody else's. And I think, like I said, the industry is so vast. I don't do film. There's an actual department of makeup artists and hairstylists and different specialists that go into film and work on film sets. I definitely, and you don't really choose it, it chooses you. You start going into something, it directs you into something else, and you basically find either what you love or you want to do or what you're really good at. I started out, like I said, at SABC doing the newsreaders, which was so stunning because I got to work with very interesting people. I mean, being a makeup artist, you meet all these weird people in different industries, from Miss Worlds, meeting Miss Worlds from all over the world. I mean, I did makeup.
Interesting people you've met.
I worked on Miss Mongolia. I mean, who meets somebody from Mongolia? It's insane. Working on the Summit of Sustainable Development, I worked with the late Kofi Annan and his wife, which was absolutely amazing. He was the United Nations Secretary General. People like John Legend. Obviously, I only did an interview with him. I mean, I didn't do his stage stuff, but I still get to meet and interact with these people. And I think that's what's so important. You are so close, in such close vicinity with these people, that you really can make amazing connections. I worked with Tokyo Sehwale doing The Apprentice for 3 months, which is, you're surrounded by business people. I mean, here I am, a creative, and I'm literally dumped into a total business environment. So you get to work with people from all over the world, but also in different industries and different environments, not just whatever you would think makeup environments would be.
It's really interesting you talking about the business side and meeting such interesting business, because one thing I know we've chatted on set and we've spoken about and discussed, you've always been very strong in the business side of things. And I think that's something where a lot of creatives, most of us, we fall short, is that we think it's all, oh great, let's just go and take a nice photograph, let's do a nice face, let's take a nice movie, and you don't think about the business. How much has being also a keen businesswoman as well as a makeup artist, how has that affected actually building your career?
At the end of the day, you are an entrepreneur. You are running your own business. You need to know how your finances work. You need to know how to market yourself. You need to know how to brand yourself. You are a running business. You have to sell yourself. One of my first jobs, I joke about it, one of my first jobs was working at the MAC cosmetics counter. It was very exciting. MAC wasn't in the country. We actually opened the first MAC makeup store in Sandton City. We got international training, so it was very exciting having this new brand in the country, especially for makeup artists. And I mean, obviously you're a counter girl, and it's not very glamorous at all. But if I look back on it, it was one of my best jobs because I learned how to sell a product. And at the end of the day, that's exactly what we're doing. I started a business about 11 years ago doing exactly that. I teach corporate companies, I teach their staff, and I train their staff on how to present themselves and how to present the brand that they're working for. I'll give you an example. One of my biggest clients is the one and only hotel in Cape Town. And I train their staff, their front office, their HR, their chefs, their cleaners, their housekeeping and F&B staff on how to represent a 5-star brand. It has nothing to do with your skill. You know, I tell these women that you're not just a cook. You're a lot more than that, and you need to start extending those boundaries and actually know how to run a business. So that's what I do.
And it's so good to hear that, because I think so many of us just think, oh, we're creatives, we don't want to touch the business world and all that. And I often have a lot of people that I work with, assistants and that, who come in here, and I say, look, taking the pictures, maybe 40 or 50% of it. The rest is managing your set, managing your clients, managing your makeup artists, managing the people, make sure that your production crew has got the catering there on time, make sure things run smoothly. It's so much more, and that the account gets sent out on time and you get paid. You've got to manage your business properly, and it's absolutely critical. And I think so many of us miss that. And I think at the moment we're just going through the worst period. There's this whole COVID-19 is so difficult for all of us, and we've all had to look into ourselves, and this is why I'm doing this, as to how we can actually do business differently and work differently. I mean, how have you managed? Because I would imagine your hotel people that you're talking to have been absolutely slaughtered at this time. There's no clients around because we can't shoot, and people haven't got budgets anymore. So how are you coping at the moment?
I think I'm like everybody else. At the moment, we're not making money. It's very hard times. But believe it or not, we've all been through this before. I mean, some months we have maybe 2 jobs. The next month we are fully booked. I know how to save. I know how to. I think what's going to be really interesting is the clients that you've made along the way and the connections that you've made along the way. I think those clients are going to come back and hopefully depend on you because they've worked with you before. And I think those connections that you made are going to be very, very important. We've also been through so many different stages. We went from, Malcolm, we went from Polaroids and paper and working in beautiful books and having our books and taking that along, and we went through the whole digital change, and we've always had to adapt to certain things. And I think we're just going to have to continue adapting, and not to fit into a certain mold, but to really just take what we've learned and maybe just diversify.
And I think also there's I've been chatting a lot to people at the moment, and that's why I've done this whole collaborators group, and trying to get people to work together and to share, to go out and look for new business as a group, as a team. And I think that's the future. And I think, also if there's a makeup company out there or something like that, and you feel that that's somebody you really want to work with, to bring in a photographer and bring in a designer and a makeup artist, to go in and try and get that work, I think is the future way of doing it. And, who better to have as a makeup artist if you're going to go and talk to a makeup company on something like that. So I think we've all got to be a bit more than just what we say we are. We've got to become salespeople, business people, all around to achieve that. So yeah, I think that's very important.
Yes.
Yeah, and then just in finishing off and closing off, just a little bit. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned before about what people need to do, but if somebody wants to get into this career and become a makeup artist, what advice would you do? Would you tell them to go to a makeup school? Would you tell them to be an assistant? How do they get into it, and how do they become a makeup artist and actually get into the industry?
I think it's very different now. At the moment, we're in a very social media environment. And I think where I was 20 years ago to where things are now, it's really, really different. Not a lot of people are studying to become a makeup artist. They're on Instagram, they're doing videos. It's actually quite something to look at. It's really challenging our career at this stage, but it's very different to what we do. I mean, those girls or boys are sitting at home, they're doing makeup on themselves. It is very different to being a makeup artist on set. It is totally different. You guys have to go to school. You have to go to a makeup school and learn the different variables of not just doing makeup on yourself, but by doing makeup on other people. And it's very interesting. Everybody I look at has one look on their face. They can only do like one thing. You need to be able to work with so many different products and skin types and hair types to be able to develop those skills. So definitely go to a makeup college. Spend money on doing a hair course. It definitely helps you push yourself quicker. then trying to learn that skill. And then, of course, either work at a makeup counter to get those selling skills, to work with people, to work with different races, to work with different ages, and to work with different people around you as staff. Then, of course, yes, go on to set. I never had an agency. I know in Cape Town and internationally it's very popular to have an agent. You can definitely go that route. Whereas I went working for myself from the beginning, and I think it made me a lot more independent. I think an agency definitely has its perks, but of course they do a lot for you in terms of your invoicing and running the business for you. So you need to see where the payoff is. I'm lucky enough to be able to do both, but that's definitely now. It's going to be really slow in the beginning. That's why I do a few things. I mean, like I said, you don't just have to do one thing. We're able to do film. We're able to do television shows. I mean, when I first started, what was very popular, what came into popularity was reality shows. Malcolm, I got into every single reality show. I did 6 seasons of Idols. I did The Apprentice. I did I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I did Strictly Come Dancing. I did So You Think You Can Dance. So I did a lot of reality shows. So whatever's popular at the time, try and get into. And then, of course, some people purely work with photographers or magazines or, but life is changing, things are changing, and you need to develop these skills. So definitely phone makeup artists, go to set with them, start building relationships, start having conversations with people, and get yourself out there. And you can't just sit at home expecting work to come to you. As you know, I set up a meeting with you, Malcolm. Not a lot of makeup artists actually do that and introduce themselves in a new city or a new town, and go and see the production companies around you, go and introduce yourself, and really try and sell yourself and your product to the industry.
Important. I even remember when you came around, when you'd moved down from Johannesburg and you came around to see me. And I can just tell you, as a photographer, for me, I want my set to run smoothly. I want the people that I work with, I want to enjoy working with them. I want to like working with them. And so at the end of the day, if you're on set and you're exposing yourself to people like myself and directors and that, we're going to phone up the people we like working with. And, I will phone you up directly. I don't, because that's who I like working with. I feel comfortable on set. And I don't want to sit and work with a makeup artist or somebody who's going to be telling me, no, I can't do this, or no, I can't do that, or I think that looks wrong. I know what the brief is. I've sat with a client. So it's so important. And of course we listen and we take advice from the makeup artist, but it's a team. And if you can't be a team player, so I think that team player is absolutely important in this whole thing.
And I think also, being around set, whether it's print or film, I think understanding everybody's job and knowing what everybody does and how things work, understand the lighting, understand sound, understand different film terminologies, so that you understand exactly what's going on, because you do have an input at the end of the day. You do have a say. If something is not working, you need to say something to the right person.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely. Don't go and tell the client. Go to the photographer or the director or the DOP or somebody. Absolutely, don't put a spanner in the works.
You do slip on a few occasions.
It's actually very important, and a lot of people don't understand that, and they comment about things. I know as a photographer, somebody will say, I've set up a whole setup, and they'll say, I'll talk to the client, wouldn't it be nice if the light came from over there, when I've built the whole set with the light coming over there, and the model's got a particular type of skin, so I've softened the light because I don't want too much sound. And this person, my assistant, mentioned something like that, and I'm like, and they say, that would be lovely, can we do that? And then it's like another 5-hour change around, and then it doesn't work, and you just want to throw that person straight out the window. But we don't do that. But yeah, I think, what you've said there is just so true, and I think it's been absolutely invaluable to everybody. And yeah, I think the information you've given and just telling us about what it's like being a makeup artist and being on set and all that is a lot that people will take away from this. And if there are any young makeup artists out there who are wanting to get into being a makeup artist, ask your questions to me. I will send them on to Kathryn and she can answer them. And we're here to help, and it's all about working together. And as she says, it's a team thing. You do have a say on set. You are an incredibly important aspect of the whole shoot. Without good makeup, we ain't getting good pictures, or we ain't getting good movies. So the team is so important in everything that we do. So Kathryn, thanks so much for your advice. And it's been wonderful having you on, and I look forward to when we actually get a time where we can go outside and actually shoot and take great pictures and do what we normally do. But I'm sure that will come soon. So thanks so much.
Thank you.